The following opinions are solely those of BoatTEST.com and its test captain.
Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTEST.com. The design team at Chaparral told me that they wanted to create a mid-size 22-foot twin-engine jet-powered boat, and they did it with a 223 Vortex VRX. I'm going to see how they've done.
Let's start with a look at the seating.
The seating area in the bow, you've got 13 inches for your legs to be in, 24 inches so we're not banging knees. The space across goes from 5 feet 9 inches to 3 feet 3 inches. Bolsters wrap completely around. Companion seating over to the port hand side, quite comfortable. Padded armrest up above, forward, lifts up for storage. There's a stereo with MP3 port, and notice the raised lip to keep your items in place. When water sports are in the plan and you need an observer, flip the seat back forward. We have aft-facing seating. The glove box now becomes the backrest. This 22-foot boat seats 10 people. The captain gets a premium upgraded bucket seat, and notice how Chaparral puts the controls for the seat on the side instead of having you hunt down underneath, and they're clearly labeled rotate and forward and back. Not many builders would bother with making elliptical handrails, but it is easier for a small hand to wrap around it, plus it's something that Chaparral does in-house. The pedestal table has a base in the cockpit and at the transom for mounting. There's dedicated storage in the Helm console. The usual storage underneath the seats, except for this port hand seat, has dedicated storage for a 25-quart cooler. Additionally, we have storage under the port console. Naturally, we've got the normal storage under the two side seats, but this forward seat has a step, non-skid, to get you to the bow, and underneath is a self-draining cooler. Let's talk about this tower. Never have I seen padding on the side. Of course, it's easily collapsible. Look at the powder coating. It's textured to give it a little bit of a firmer grip. Now, even the bimini top has some interesting features of its own. The hardware goes all the way around the perimeter, and normally we see tensioners right over the captain's head, and I've banged my head on those on more than one occasion. Here, the tensioner is moved to the center, out of the way. And look at the middle of the bimini. It's padded underneath to help reduce the flapping effect, plus chafing against the tower. Plus, we've got upgraded stereo speakers facing aft, and this is part of the stereo upgrade. That includes the 6.5-inch speakers in the cockpit, bow, and stern, plus one stereo remote at the transom, a controller underneath the glove box, plus a touchscreen controller at the helm. Swinging around to take a look at the helm, the whole panel is dark, eliminating any concern for glare. 2 start-stop buttons over on the left-hand side just above the ignition. Rocker switches are clearly labeled, and in the center, a touchscreen display to easily cycle through all of the functions that you need. Let's take a look at the engine compartment. Hatch lifts with the help of 2 gas assist struts. We have a twin engine application in this boat, but they're both controlled from a single digital control at the helm. Inside we have a pair of 200 horsepower Rotax 4Tech engines. Details of this better seen outside the boat. Let's take a look. Here we are with a cutaway model attached to a section of the hull. Let's take a look at some of the features. Let's talk about the reverse gate and the steering nozzle. Here's what we normally see: the reverse gate attached to the steering nozzle. Chaparral's Rotax does it a little bit differently. Let's take a look. Here we have the engine in the forward position. Water comes blasting out the nozzle, and we steer the nozzle as normal, but when we shift into the neutral or reverse position, we have the added benefit of lateral thrust control. So now you have much more maneuverability at the dock when you're shifted into neutral or the reverse positions. Moving forward, we have a grate under the hull that prevents large objects from getting sucked into the impeller. Now normally, we see access for the hand to come down and clear things away from the shaft, but Rotax does things a little bit differently. They protect the shaft from the outset with a shroud all the way around the shaft. On the Rotax, the ride plate is actually a heat exchanger. There's a hose attached to it that comes forward, connects to the thermostat and the water pump. That, in effect, gives the Rotax a closed cooling system. Great feature for saltwater boaters.
With the twin 200 Rotax engines turning 7850 RPM, we reached a top speed of 52.9 miles per hour with a 32.8 gallon per hour fuel burn. Best cruise was at 5,000 RPM, which had us running at 25.9 miles per hour while burning 8.1 gallons per hour. That meant that we could keep going for 144 miles in over 5.5 hours. But she was most impressive in her acceleration. She planed in 2.1 seconds, reached 20 miles per hour in 4 seconds, and continued accelerating through 30 miles per hour in 6.2 seconds. As soon as we hit the throttle, her Chaparral DNA became evident as she felt like every bit the sport boat that she is. Turns were at a sedate 10-degree roll with an expected carve and no hint of chinewalk. Performance turns caused her to spin out as expected and launch in the opposite direction. Wave penetration was also characteristically Chaparral, with a clean slice through and spray kept low and wide for a dry ride.
Well, that's my look at the 223 Vortex VRX from Chaparral. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.